All right.
Awesome.
Welcome to the Android DevRel Office Hours Friday. We do Feature Fridays. Today we're drinking Monk's Cafe Flemish Sour Ale and something from Belgium that I can't pronounce.
Woody Creek White? Oh, the other one.
The other one.
Oh, yeah, the Abbey Ale.
Yeah, nobody cares what you're drinking.
That's right.
All right. So we listened to your comments, or read them rather, and came up with quite a few improvements this time around.
First, the goal is to suck less.
Exactly. We are going to suck much less. So here's what we're doing. First, we have a few more people in here. You may recognize Reto Meyer and Roman Nurik. Reto and Roman are more of apps experts. Dan Galpin and myself are more of game experts. And we're going to be mixing it up today. So we'll do a few apps, do a few games. And hopefully, if it all works out, we're also going to have a guest reviewer. But we are not going to have any invited apps like we did last week. We are only going to be reviewing apps that were suggested on the moderator. And we really appreciate everyone that went and suggested apps and voted up or down so that we could figure out which apps are the most popular.
And in fact, we are fortunate enough to hopefully have a couple of the developers show up as well. The developers of Chord and RateBear are both going to be hopefully joining us.
Excellent. RateBear will be truly,
Absolutely.
truly useful. Excellent. The other thing we've done is gone out and sprung for an HDMI input system. So theoretically, you should be able to see.
We're now showing the phone.
It's all right.
Yep.
Just need to figure out which input this one is.
Yep. There we go. So, yep. So we have actual real inputs.
It's that one.
Right. There we go. And we turned on the special ice cream sandwich touch dot, so you can even see what our fingers are doing. Now,
I don't really want to know.
yeah, because of the nature of Hangouts, you're still going to see a slightly reduced quality image. It's coming into our PC at 720p, but it looks like the compression makes it a little bit grainy. So we're probably still going to run into some cases where we'll be talking about graphics being maybe a little less crisp than normal, or maybe they're very crisp. You won't be able to see that. But hopefully you'll at least be able to get a much better idea of what the apps look like.
If it doesn't look good to you, it really doesn't look good to us. I guess that's the answer.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see. Who's got the moderator?
The moderator was on the tablet.
No, and now it's not anymore?
Yeah.
Got it.
There it is.
Okay. So the first app that we want to look at is CinchDroid. So it looks like CinchDroid is going to be a card game. Those are always fun. We don't have enough of those.
But it's the first time Cinch has been brought to Android, at least so it claims in the moderator.
That is exactly, yes. That's what they say. Okay, I had this installed and now I
Out of
don't.
curiosity, how many people here have played Cinch before?
There we go.
I've not.
I have not.
All right, so the game is going to have to teach us how to play.
Right.
Good.
We're
We're
Okay.
not going to be able to comment as to whether the game
Yeah.
actually is a good rendition of Cinch.
Yeah, we got it. Okay, so first off, we have a fantastically long EULA. All right.
Wow.
We actually check this off.
I am looking for the human centipede part of this. Oh, there it is down in Notice. Okay.
Wow. It's a long EULA, and it's
All right.
mobile, and it's a dialogue.
Yeah. So, you know, we understand your legal probably makes you do this. You may want to consider not.
It looks like this title may be wanting desperately to run in portrait mode also. We might want to try it on the phone instead of the tablet.
It is running in portrait mode, in fact. If you look at my tablet, it's completely in portrait. It's just you only see half of it because we have a landscape display.
Yeah, it's actually kind of, it's behaving in rather odd ways.
It's not how I would have expected it to come up on the screen, but nonetheless.
Yeah, so this is
great ad for us on the device, is what we're saying. You
Yeah.
can see kind of weirdness on the screen.
And then they didn't create an awkward portrait view inside of the landscape mode on the tablet.
no matter how much it looks like that, that's not actually the case.
Let's
So
install
these are the rules apparently, and I'm not going to read through them all, but
I can't see them.
good job on doing the rules. Okay, and oh, now we're back in
Well, okay.
Okay.
That's
interesting.
Everyone either rotate your monitor or turn your head this side.
All right. So
Make sure your mics are turned on.
Oh yeah. God, what happened to all of my somewhat witty comments? Have been,
You'll have to just say them all
Say them
over
again.
yeah,
again.
exactly.
All right, everyone online, the good times are over. Dan hasn't left.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Okay, so we got a nice little startup menu. That looks good. Oh, nice. I like how it turned red. That's a pretty long wait, but all right.
Fonts are kind of small.
Okay, so now, yeah, this is a really small set of fonts. So you might want to think about redoing the layout for a tablet because we've got fonts that are just barely visible.
As you all can see on the screen, when at low res, you probably can't read that at all.
Yeah.
But also, it just looks like this is an enormous amount of white space.
That's the main thing. I mean, probably these fonts were chosen to be readable on a phone. They are legible on a tablet the same way they would be on a phone.
So let's have a look at it on the phone, because it's not a great deal better.
Well, I mean, we chose a font that's readable. Now, it could be maybe a little bigger.
Yeah, there's a lot less white space, which is good.
Right. Yeah, their tablet is basically the sea of white space, probably because they're using the same layout.
Yeah, I mean, a general rule is, I mean, if really you have the same general layout, you just want to blow things up a bit. I mean, a really good thing to do is just, this looks like this is using just Android SDK stuff, which is the resources framework. I don't really see if it's using OpenGL or anything, but really simple thing to do is to,
Ian, something's up with your mic. There's distortion, and I think it's off. Maybe it's a connection frequency on the same time.
Oh.
Good question.
I hear lots of
I
squeaking.
can hear the
actually.
squeaking.
Yeah.
Let's turn yours off.
We should have someone on headset.
That's off. Excellent.
Yeah.
Drop that.
sorry for the technical difficulties.
You guys
but-
continue. I'll hook you up with
The
another
goal
mic.
is not to not suck at all.
Thanks,
it's
Trev.
just to suck less.
Right, we're going to suck less this
Oh.
week. We
Yeah.
want to leave ourselves some room for improvement next
Absolutely.
We'd like to gradually iterate toward not sucking at all. I would call that the long-term stretch.
Absolutely. And I want you. We also.
By the way, you should probably speak directly into your fabulous red microphone.
Yeah.
It is an awesome, fabulous
It
right
is.
now.
It is the clown mic.
Yeah, I am hoping by like episode 50 that we do not suck at all.
Yeah. Well, that is the comic relief mic.
Look,
though. So you have
it
to
is.
you have to be prepared to make witty comments if you're gonna hold the comic.
I have to be witty?
I know.
I
Sorry.
can't just be
Those
dull.
clown noises
I'm not really ready for that kind of responsibility. If someone can hand me a boring looking mic, I could play up to that.
Yeah. What I'm also excited is we actually have like a $10 light on us right
So let me just finish that point before
Yeah.
we get completely sidetracked. A really good thing to do here is to just have kind of dimension resources. So for example, some of the things you might do is like have I guess like player font size is a dimensions resource. And then like let's say card size. So that you could say, for large screens, maybe your font size should be 20 or 24 or something across the board, versus on smaller screens, like a normal size screen, you can use a smaller font size. So that really helps kind of simplify your code base and not necessarily create a whole new layout, but just iteratively make things a little bigger so they're more legible and touch-friendly on the tablet.
Right, so you wouldn't have to make a new layout at all. You're just changing a certain set of
Yeah,
resources.
just a dimension.
Basically restyling it. Nice. Okay, let's.
So should we just look at it on the phone?
Yeah, use it on the phone. It looks a little
Okay.
nicer.
So,
Just having it in portrait is great. So
right, I don't know.
much better than craning your head.
I don't know who I'm playing with. Apparently, Andy Layton and Optimus Prime.
Dude, who's Optimus Prime?
No.
Oh, I do. Yeah. Well, of course.
Right.
Play style is more than meets the eye. This looks good.
I mean, I do kind of wish that I knew who these people were. It would be awesome to hook up with like Google Plus or Facebook or some sort of social network so there's a graph that I could choose for people.
You're assuming that they're not AI players. Do we know that they're real people? Or?
Well, who would call his AI player Layton? Doesn't make any sense.
As in like Professor Layton from the...
Oh, I didn't think about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just general kind of more feedback as to who you're playing against, whether these people are online. Like if there was like a chat mode, for example, that would be a clear indication that these are real players.
Or you're playing against
They're
Eliza.
playing against real people.
Yeah, but I like, you can bring up the this, you can bring up the
Is that
sharing.
recommended? Yeah, so recommend, this is interesting. I think in general, if you're trying to recommend or offer users the ability to recommend your game or app, making it so prominent, I don't know if it's a good thing, because it might kind of get annoying.
Yeah, I feel like it shouldn't be a first-class action. So the action bar is really about the most important things. And
Right.
I've always felt like the share my app, like advertise my app for me, is possibly the most important thing for you as a developer, but the least important thing to most users. So
I really feel like that should go in, like, maybe if you have an about screen or something
Yeah.
like that, like a button in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pattern putting it on the action bar. You know, we do a lot of our titles, people sharing it as primary focus on the title. But it's unclear in most applications on that.
Right. If you've got an app where the primary idea is you're taking and curating photos, sharing is a natural idea. In this case, I don't even know what I'm sharing. Am I sharing the app? Am I sharing the game?
That's the iconography, right? Because the iconography there is very clearly shared, but that's right. I mean, maybe it could be something else, or just hidden
in fact, that could be a way in which you might expect the game to bring in other people. If I shared this particular instance of the game with my friends, it's a way of inviting them to play you. It's kind of what I was expecting to happen here.
Whether it's actually multiplayer game or not.
We haven't.
Not sure.
I'm guessing it's not.
The problem is, if you use this iconography for that, then you're going to a share screen and sending a share intent that doesn't really imply an immediate response. So inviting people, I think, is a very different action than just sharing.
Yeah, sure.
I'm worried that I might share something via email and then just because I waited forever. But it would be interesting if I had, for instance, a really great game with some sort of high score. I might want to share that. Or if this were a game where screenshots were likely to be really interesting, to share a screenshot. But either way, I think I really strongly agree with Roman that having it be a central part of your UI just doesn't make sense. And it's likely to annoy people.
You feeling like?
Well, I mean, now I see.
Yeah.
But I'm only halfway through this bottle, so
Right.
either I'm going to become really relaxed or really angry. Let's just go through a couple of other things. So let's see, back button. When I hit the back button, it went ahead and brought that up, which is great. So I have a way to continue back with the exit. If I hit the back button again, okay, that exits. So that's all right. Your two options there that we think are fine are either you go back to wherever you were before the back button was hit, in this case on the game screen. So in other words, it has the continue functionality, or you actually go straight out of the game, which is the exit functionality. That's fine.
Especially if this game is a turn-based game and you continue that again, by going back into the game. This is always correct.
Yeah, it's absolutely the right choice.
If it was like a real-time action game, you were playing with a bunch of buddies, it would probably be more annoying to do this, and you probably want to do it right after the game. But in this particular case, I think this is exactly the same. So, awesome.
Yeah, and I hit continue, and I got right back into the game where I was before. So, well done, you guys. That's exactly the sort of behavior we want. If I hit the home button and... like that.
And which one do you think one of the...
Trevor, can you get on headset and take a look at the channels?
Yeah.
Figure that out.
Okay, we're sorry that we still don't suck as less as we wanted to.
I think I'm just going to use your yellow just in case that is a problem.
That was grammatically
Okay.
confounding.
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm also working on grammar.
So Trevor Johns is going to come here and get on headset for us, and
You're pretty good.
and
hide off the camera somehow.
be our technical.
I think you'd have to go around the other way.
Why don't you just get next to
Like,
Raytha
not
there and be
over
on
that
camera as headset boy for a while? So
It's all right. We've
Oh,
got
yeah.
multiple cameras. It's all good.
exactly. Unfortunately, no one really wants. And actually, we're showing the game primarily right now, so
Yeah.
no one wants to look it out. Go back.
Back to the game.
We're on
Back to the
Back to the
game, yeah.
game. That's much better.
All right. So yeah,
The game is
all of the life cycle stuff feels really good to me, and I'm really pleased about that. So I'd say that this is sort of thing that we would love to look at again. when there's maybe a little bit of fixes to the layout.
I'd love to see it really support tablets because tablets are awesome for this kind of game. I mean, that's really
it
what
looks
comes
like it
down
should
to.
look really great on the tablet, but there's just this ocean of green felt
Yeah.
with tiny little cards around the corners, and it feels like if that took up the same amount of space as it does on the phone, it would be a really fun
it'd be an awesome
experience.
experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I think right now when you make any kind of card game, there's so many card games on Android that you want to make sure that there's no reason why someone's card game should be trivially better than yours. And in this case, just having Cinch is cool, but it would even be better if you actually were able to support every kind of playing device out there really well.
Yeah, I will totally give you props though for making sure that we have a nice experience looking at the titles and the menu. Not a stock system font. Feels kind of fun. Honestly, doesn't necessarily give me a card game feel, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
I would
really
love
nice
to
about that.
see. I would love to see an in-game tutorial. I mean, granted, someone who doesn't know the game is less likely to download it in the first place. So, likely, if they download it, they already know how to play Cinch. But if someone recommended, hey, go download this game and play Cinch with me, I'd like a thing that could go through and say, okay, now do this, or this will be.
Well, you can imagine it were promoted on Android marketing. Someone saw it up there and goes, oh, cool, CinchDroid. What is that? And what does the banner look like? By the way, can we look at the market listing?
Yeah, absolutely. Go back into the market view.
Can you look on the tablet what the market listing looks like, or on the phone? I'd be just curious to see.
Yeah, I think. Do we have the?
Wow, that's blurry.
Yeah.
We got really unlucky.
Oh, I think that's because we're switching right now. We're in the middle of a switch.
We won't, but let's see what happens. There we go. Which one would you prefer?
I'd prefer this one if it ever turned on, but it seems to have given up.
And now you're all going to learn what Ian's password is.
It's all right. That's why we have two
multiple
tablets,
tablets.
both of which are switching themselves off. All right.
Okay.
Let's have a look at it.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. There you go. Short and sweet.
Done.
Okay.
Remember that, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. For next time you steal my device, you'll know exactly how to get into it. Okay. So
really
we're
just
going
a
to go to the
message for the
market
people in the
listing,
room.
and since I'm holding the.
That camera over there. Now that we have to do.
Okay.
Okay. There, that's better.
So Droidy here will be front and center.
Oops. I'm sorry. What was the exact name of this app?
Maybe
Is it
Star
Cinch?
It's Cinch. Cinch.
Oh, Cinch. That's it.
Just a little less.
Cinch and then another
Look how
word.
bad I am. At
We had rated
remembering
our
things.
2%.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay.
Also makes it easier to look at the camera while you're looking at things, but trying to look at one at the
There you
other.
are, CinchDroid.
Yeah.
No banner.
No banner.
Okay,
Oh.
so this is a problem, and I'll tell you why. Because if you have no banner, our merchandising team can't feature you. It is impossible. So what you need to do is go into your market account and upload your feature graphic, which is a huge, it's like, I don't know, 1024 by something.
500 or
By
600.
five, yeah.
5%.
It's actually, I think, larger than we normally show it, but it gets scaled down to different devices. And that way, you can get featured. That's a prerequisite. The other thing, just for reference, is that banner must have the name of your game on it, because there are places in the featuring area where a banner is shown with no text. And their recommendation is that the text on your banner should take up about 50% of the available area.
If you actually look at the market on the client on the phone, you'll see that there's a bunch of small, tiny spaces there that are used for those featuring banners. They really get shrunk down really significantly.
Yeah, your featuring graphic needs to be really legible when it's about an inch to an inch and a half wide.
All right. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And maybe
See
have a
an
look at an app. I think Roman, I think you pre-selected a couple. Do you want to
Yes,
talk us through it?
We do have actually, I should take this. So we do have a couple here. The first, actually, I think Ian had feedback on as well, since he's a guitar player.
I know nothing about guitar. I wish I did, but that's that's how
That
life
actually
works.
surprises me. Like I really.
Why
thought-
am I just a guitar kind of guy?
You seem like maybe you're like keyboards.
Keyboard? Nah, not really.
You're just the guy that holds the
So-
boombox.
So this app is called. We can just switch to the phone.
I will attempt to.
This app is called, I guess, Chord, guitar chords, or I don't know, I don't remember the exact name, but in the launcher icon just says Chord.
Chord exclamation is the name of the app.
Right.
Chord exclamation point. That's right. So we're looking at the home screen of the app, and we see a couple of things. Obviously, we see the action bar and a dashboard pattern, which is fine. The dashboard in general doesn't always scale well to a tablet, so when you're considering, actually, we haven't tried this on a tablet yet. We may want to try
Well, I'll
this
bring it
on.
up on the
I would
tablet.
say it very, very rarely scales well
Yeah.
to a tablet.
Also, we have the same issue with sharing the app or recommending the app in the action bar, and you want to just reconsider that. And then there's also kind of preferences and things like that. But just to get into the meat of the app, so you can go into chords, and there's this nice hollow themed UI for. And again, I'm going to butcher this because I know nothing about guitars. For selecting different, I guess different instruments or different.
The different chords, right?
Different chords, right? And then you kind of have this nice view page here where you can slide across different views, or you know more about this than I do.
Oh man, I didn't see the view pager. I got to try that.
Yeah, this is a cool little view pager, and there's an interesting title strip there. It's kind of a custom title strip with some extra decorations, which is nice. I mean, it does fit in with the rest of the theme of the app, which is quite nice. One of the pieces of feedback that we had here, I think both Ian and I, was that there's no way to really play the chord. There's no way to preview it, and you can tap on that.
Yeah, you have to tap this button.
And you can like swipe across here, right?
That's killer. That's really cool.
That is
But
awesome.
the problem is, I have to go to this completely different screen
Show
to
us.
see it.
I missed out on that. I love this stuff.
Well, you were doing important stuff.
I know.
So my question is, could we have done something like that on this last screen where I'm choosing the chord? I mean, maybe this is too small for a strum.
What does the top thing do in the little corner?
It
That's
takes
a
you
reset.
to this screen.
Oh, it takes you to that.
So the top right action is a reset. Maybe the top right action should be like play or preview. And maybe you just take like kind of the average strum duration. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
actually,
to give an
would be
indication.
Cool. Yeah, it'd be cool to have. You could even have another action. I mean, there's plenty of space for additional actions up there. It could definitely be preview action.
The other comment, I think Ian, you made this comment, was when you press reset, it says. At some point it said waiting for input, which was a little confusing. I think everybody here was like, waiting for input. Does that mean that it's waiting for like to listen to a sound, like it's going to pick up the chord based on what it's hearing through the microphone or something? And that's clearly probably not what it does. But that may be something to consider.
It's actually really nice. So the actual layout for tablets is I've got it, Mike. Is different. So I'll see if I can switch to the right input. There you go.
Oh, now this is where I would use it.
Very cool.
So
I really like that they took advantage of the added space of the tablet instead of just making everything bigger.
Yeah, that's awesome.
absolutely, this is really awesome, you guys.
Yeah, it's clearly using different fragments across different activity. So this is that the developer of Chord?
Possibly. It seems the people we've invited have had some trouble getting in, so I'm going to re-invite them, but you guys can continue.
But so the way this is done, it seems like on the phone there's two activities, maybe just one activity with two fragments. The second fragment being the kind of the strumming playback fragment, and on tablet they decided to create one activity with two fragments, which is just pretty much the way you're supposed to do it, which is awesome, really cool.
So really, my only objection to this app is that the area over on the left here, although it's very useful, and I think I would get used to it pretty quickly, on first glance, it feels very, very busy, and maybe even a little busier than it absolutely has to be. I mean, obviously, we're dealing with chords of all different types here, and musical theory is a pretty complex topic, but at the same time, maybe it would have been better to keep me in an area where, I can do my sort of normal chords. So I got my major and my minor and maybe, like a seventh or suspended or, whatever, but not like everything.
Well, I consider this the advanced user layout, but I also think someone who's actually looking at chord charts, oftentimes you do try to look up the weird chords. So it's kind of a mixed thing. Like if you're a big guitar player, you know all the basic chords, and it's the weird ones that you're like, what?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right.
So I don't know.
I'll buy that.
It's a hard question. Like
Either
depends on
way,
the use case. But
it definitely looks very, very busy.
I know for me, I always look up the really weird chords.
Maybe one thing you can do is maybe you have, I don't want to say like different modes and you switch between modes because that's just another choice. But maybe you have some sort of like interesting like pinch to zoom thing where you like zoom out.
Wait.
Zoom out to,
I think we didn't even look at this action bar. There's a simple and
normal.
Yeah.
You know, that may be.
Is that in the main app as well?
Oh, that is.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so that's the view pager for you know, in the phone version. There's simple, and then you swipe over to normal, and then you swipe over to reverse. Yeah, this is cool. Very cool.
Wow. All right, win. That's what I was thinking of.
Totally impressed.
Yeah.
And so really,
Thumbs up.
yeah.
One issue I found was in the preferences, and this is, I don't know if it's on the phone or just a tablet or just a phone, but the preferences on the phone really quickly. There's no title bar or no action bar, which is kind of breaks some of that context, and you really want like something to let you get back to the primary activity. And then the preferences weren't using hollow. Everything else was using hollow throughout the app, but the preferences weren't. So just a minor point of visual polish.
It's a little bit weird that I can only get to settings when I'm on this home page. Now, I do want to mention that I love the way that this developer has used the sort of navigation hierarchy that we set a precedent with Gmail and Google Plus on Ice Cream Sandwich. It's really logical for people to say, okay, here's my main choices, and then I'm going to choose one of those, and I can always, well, that's full version only.
Why don't we have the full version?
I know. Who installed these?
I know.
Usually we do try to buy the full version, by the way. So if you need like an extra $1 in sales, you know where to get it. So I went down into scales, and now where I go, the up button, which points to the left, because that makes sense, will take me right back to this hierarchy, and that's awesome. But why do I only get the settings when I'm on that hierarchy view? Why? It seems like at some point I might want to be down here and do settings too.
Yeah, I mean a general pattern that we found in Gmail, and actually I don't know about Gmail, but Google Plus does this, and a lot of our apps do this. But basically, you always have settings as an overflow item in every main kind of context. So in this case, you have overflow and then settings, and in the home screen you also have overflow and then settings. In some cases, if the settings are like super important, and I can't really think of a place where settings are in that they follow the FIT rule, the frequent, important, and typical rule for the action bar. But if for some reason settings for your app really is either frequent, important, or typical, then maybe you have it in the action bar. But you're definitely right. I think maybe showing it in the overflow, anywhere where it really makes sense, is a good idea.
Yeah, I would definitely vote for the overflow. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. But kudos to this guy for making it such an ice cream sandwich app. I think
it really looks good.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is like don't limit yourself to the Holo theme. Like it's a great theme, but especially for something like this for musicians, it could get a little bit murky. There are a lot of gray backgrounds or bluish gray backgrounds. You may want to highlight a few things with a little bit more color. Definitely give some thought to how this looks when you're in the dark, for instance, like you might be in a performance environment. Just different environments.
I would also say on the main screen, there's that same share icon that we saw in CinchDroid, where it's not immediately apparent if there's some sort of data that you're trying to share, or if it's just share that I'm using this app.
That's a good point, and I think that I just pulled it up, and it says recommend via. And while I think this app is great and I'd like to recommend it to my friends, I'd like to maybe see that as an overflow item or just something that's a little less, especially since
not using a share iconography either.
Exactly. I mean, this is a system icon that has a very specific meaning, and when you start to make it into this recommend my app commercially, then it starts to lose its value as a particular action, and we start to get more inconsistent behavior.
What do you think about apps that actually do like the occasional like pop-up saying, "Hey, you've been using this app for 10 minutes. Would you like to recommend this?"
I would prefer that to having a share button,
Oh,
especially.
That's a strong comment, my friend.
So I just want to note semantically.
Strong comment.
Share is a very there's actions that go in the action bar that are sometimes global, like settings, but things like share are very strongly contextual to the screen you're looking at. So when you're sharing, when you press share, there's the I guess the expectation that you're sharing what you're looking at. And right now, I mean, I am looking at the app, but more so I'm looking at like different pieces, different content within the app.
Yeah, it's like you almost expect it to share a chord
Yeah,
if you're in.
exactly. If you're
Right,
looking at an
but
individual
once again,
chord,
we're
it doesn't
going
make
back
sense.
to the idea that the original intent of
Yeah.
share is to take something that you've created
Yeah.
or encountered in the app and share it with your friends, as opposed to just saying, "Hey, look at what I just bought! Isn't that cool? Wouldn't you like to buy it too?"
I would love to have the chords menu be like, "Dude, this is the most awesome chord. You should check this out."
Found the best chord, dude.
Or
Yeah.
like, this is the chord from that song that I loved, like back in the 80s. Like, this is it.
I had
And then
no
you share.
idea it was C minor augmented ninth. That's kind of awesome.
Exactly. Sharing a chord progression would actually be really cool if you can make progressions, and so I'm not even absolutely sure if you can, but it kind of seems like, oh no, these are the alternate fingerings.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so that maybe that's my my question or my my suggestion is that you move on and actually make it so you can store a chord
If you
progression.
go back, the one thing I would say is that while it's really, really cool to have all the options there, as I'm thinking as a guitar player, what I'm actually most interested in is what I've selected, not what my choices are until perhaps when I'm actually going in the process of choosing. Like, I'd almost rather see, like, that C major, and then, boom, I click on it, I get the options of C minor.
Yeah,
Almost.
You're absolutely right, because especially if you think about it, like, how am I going to use this app? Well, it's great as a reference guide.
Yeah.
But there's I got tons of books for that, right? I can thumb through a book and find a chord that I'm looking for, probably just as fast as I could do this. So what does having it on the computer really provide? Well, there's some measure of convenience. There's a few extra things like the reverse chord lookup that are really cool. But one thing that no book can ever do is maintain state for me, right? So if I could have this as something where I look up chords and then remember them in a progression.
Well, there's favorite,
right?
There's
You
the
can
option
favorite
of favorite.
Yeah.
Even as
and
simple,
then set up a whole song.
like even as simple like
Well,
bookmarking
it has
functionality.
favorites. It has favorites, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
it
has
does have
favorites.
favorites?
Yeah.
But what I'm looking for
Right, yeah,
is
so.
how could I make this, like, how am I going to look up the chords for a particular song and then practice it? Because after I've looked it up, I have to practice it over and over, right?
How do I favorite that? I just out of curiosity.
On the phone version, there is a star.
I was looking for it
I'm
on
guessing
the tablet.
indicating
I was trying to figure
favoriting.
out where it was.
Yeah, I don't see it. There, this one maybe?
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
star there.
Okay.
Is that the favorite? Is that the favorite fingering? Is that what that's for? What?
Oh.
What would actually be
Yeah,
really
that's
cool?
a favorite fingering for that chord.
No, you can have
No,
multiple fingers.
you can have
favorite.
multiple.
As someone who spent the past 2 months learning guitar via Rocksmith, like one thing I think would be really cool, like data sources permitting, is if you could like put it in the name of a song and get all of the chords in that song as like a little collection that you could then study in the app.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Right.
Like,
I
that would be
definitely see,
fantastic.
like the thing that would really push this over the top is tablature.
Yeah.
It's actually being able to do songs through it. But even though we're making a lot out of a minor point. It's a really cool app.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And I think that the author has taken a lot of care to try and follow our UI guidelines, and with a few minor exceptions, I think they've done a great job.
Yeah, but I definitely would. I could envision that Chord UI with much larger text, kind of showing me what's currently active more than showing me all the choices, and then allowing me to select things as I change the box. And I think it would require a little bit more thought in terms of how you cue the user into knowing what selections were under each tab. But I think that right now what I see is that everything is very small on the screen, and I'd kind of like to see things a little larger.
Yeah.
And maybe when I'm in the middle of selecting them, then I can actually see more on. I don't know. That's just a thought. It might be interesting to play with some designs that way. We should probably go to the next app though.
We're giving these a good thorough review, which is nice.
Yeah,
We're going to get 2.5
did
done.
somebody join us?
Eric has joined us. Eric, can you remind us all which I've muted you, so you'll have to unmute. But can you remind us which app you have created?
Hi, yeah, I'm the developer of the RateBear
You're
app.
still muted.
Oh. Seems to be working from my end.
RateBear,
Okay, or?
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
really
hear you.
bad delay. That's all.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's just a delay. So I'm the developer of several apps. One of them is the RateBear app, and that's what I'm here for, I suppose. I already heard you. I have
Excellent.
a couple of
Alright, so
beers
yeah.
set up there, but
Absolutely.
How do these beers rate, out of curiosity?
Well, we should find out.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's fire up the app.
Fire up the app.
so what do you have?
We've got a Francis Connor.
See, I'm not going to attempt.
The Franciscaner?
Yeah.
That's pretty highly rated, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But you should look it up at the app, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just
Yeah.
critical. I like the idea of having an app that's well themed.
That's Ian's. We could do.
So the original idea is that there's this RateBear website. I didn't make that, but I'm just a user of that, and I've been working on several Android apps, and this was more of like born as a personal pet project, as all my other apps as well. And it grew out to something like a little bit more bigger, a little bit more slicker. It's not supposed to mimic the full functionality of the website. But still, especially on the move, gives you a quick access on the searching for new beers and rating, and so keep track of what you like.
Cool. So just a couple of quick UI comments, because I'm the UI guy, I guess. But the first thing I just wanted to note, and a lot of these are going to be very minor, but here the action bar logo. Yeah, the action bar logo. It's not transparent, so you kind of like when you touch it, you see the white pixels. That should be a pretty straightforward fix, I'm guessing. Also, when on the home screen where you have that dashboard, let's go to the home screen real quick. Touching this button should do nothing. It should be really disabled, and it's actually a new API in ICS, an ice cream sandwich, called set home disabled or enabled false. There's a couple of other things like some of the iconography in the action bar. It's not really like, I mean, this is a very ice cream sandwich and honeycomb friendly UI, which is awesome, but some of the iconography was a little dated. It was a little more like gingerbread froyo iconography. And like when you press refresh, for example, you see the old style spinner, not really the new style spinner. A lot of this is very, very minor.
This is so cool, by the way.
Oh, you can scan the.
Oh, this is nice.
I don't think that I don't think I have enough. For some reason, I don't have enough light from the camera.
Because it's showing over HDMI. The camera is being shown.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
over
nice.
HDMI,
So it's
yeah.
not going into the. Beautiful. So you got to see all the backstage equipment here.
Look out.
And then a couple of more, like in this screen, for example, you have the tabs there at the bottom, but one thing you may want to consider is using action bar tabs. They're basically tabs that sit up at the same level of the action bar.
Right.
So a little bit of screen real estate. And also, any time that you're not at the home screen, consider showing up. So instead of home, show kind of that left caret, and then pressing that should take you one level higher. So that's like some very basic UI.
So it looks like we did pretty well with one of our choices of beer.
Yeah.
Blonde.
What was it? What was it rated?
86.
Sweet.
That's blonde, yeah.
You know, something a little more obscure. Pomegranate wheat.
Oh,
Well, actually, Monk's Cafe wasn't on there either.
Yeah. Well, I was curious about that, whether we didn't like the apostrophe or if it was just that was.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry, so the special characters in the beer's names, you mean?
Yeah.
So during the search, it should basically filter out the special characters and also apostrophes, those kind of things, tildes. It should do that, but it also depends a little bit on how the API from RateBear itself is functioning on this. And I know there are some issues on their side as well with that. So it's hard to say for this specific search.
So Flemish which was a Flemish sour red ale. Is that
Yep,
what you have?
yep. That's what I'm drinking.
That's awesome.
84.
Did all right.
84 is the value, right? So here's another point of confusion. I don't know if you can hear me, but there are some screens where you have lists containing kind of a number on the left, and that number is really kind of the rank, and then the rating, like the 84, the 86, that's kind of off to the side, and it's not very prominent. It's almost like the information hierarchy doesn't give that much weight. But then in other screens, such as this, I guess in the search results,
that left number is the rating, right? And there's two types of ratings, right? There's the beer rating, and then there's like a best out of 5 rating or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm definitely aware of this problem. The biggest problem here is that the API is very limited, and actually sometimes in search results it only gives me, I think, the percentage, so the percentile actually. While in, for example, my own ratings, it would only return the actual score, so from 1 to 5 stars. So that's a little bit of inconsistency there, and as far as that is concerned, there's not much I can do with right now. But
So, one comment I just want to make there is one thing that you may want to do to improve the presentation is anytime you show a percentile, maybe give it a certain look, like anytime you see a percentile, it's in a rounded rectangle, in a red rounded rectangle. That probably won't look
it's a
very
great
good.
idea. If you're displaying like a ratings out of 5, have like a star behind it, so you have some sort of visual indicator of what does this number represent.
Yeah.
that sounds really good, yeah.
You want to say? Paul?
Oh yeah, I was just saying, yeah. I actually had a question for this Monk's Cafe Flemish Sour Red Ale, which I'm drinking, which actually I'm very much enjoying. What does the 84 mean? Is it 84th percentile, or is it?
Out of 100, right?
Yeah, so the 0 to 100, those are percentiles, so it's the exact percentage within the, if you order everything, it's the percent in which it falls, basically, right?
Okay. Now that's telling me that this beer is under an alias. I'm assuming, because it's wanted or something.
Yeah. This is also an issue, indeed. If a beer is an alias, you click it, you cannot basically go to the original, and this is also a limitation of the API currently. I asked for them for the update, so they do give me like a notice that it is an alias, but they don't refer me to the actual original beer, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
So if we search the list, if we search the list ourselves, we might be able to find the original beer under another name.
Yeah, sometimes it's obvious, but it's necessarily so.
This is a really, I had no idea that Monk's Cafe made this many beers.
Yeah.
I'm super excited now.
Check it out. You want that
Bavaria Porter in '95.
I think that's what you want to get for next week.
Is there a way to
Here we
favorite
go.
the brewer? Like say, I like Monk's Kettle, save it to my collection. Just some way to personalize and store these for later. Is that possible?
Yeah, starting on brewers would also definitely be cool. What you already can do if you have an account is you can add it to your wants list. So you sort of create a list of all the beers that you're looking forward to, and then maybe if later you can find it, go on the website, it actually syncs. So you go on the website and maybe use the availability to search where you can actually buy the beers.
So one of the things you could do as well, so I noticed that you've got the sign-in functionality, and I'm assuming that's so that you can save your favorites to the website and all that sorts of stuff. One thing you might want to consider is having an offline version of that, so that I can use it on my device. I never want to go to the website. I just want to be able to scroll through, pick my favorite beers, and look stuff up while I'm online. So it would be nice to sort of mirror that functionality. If I then sign in later, great, get all that information, send it to the server so that suddenly it has all of my history. But provide the same sort of stuff just offline, I think would be really useful.
Right. Yeah. I think we're suggesting that you make a sync adapter for beer ratings.
Yeah, to a certain extent, I already have. Well, not on a technical sync adapter. What I do have is offline ratings, so you can do offline, and even without an account, as well as there's the beer mill, sort of like a personal message system that also is available offline. But especially with the searching for beers and adding to your list, the total beer database is like 300,000 or something, so it's hard to keep a local list of that.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. But I think it's
I
more.
have that much storage devoted to beer.
Well,
I'm good with that.
Sure. I think it's more a case of being able to have the full functionality without being signed in.
I do agree.
You still have to be online.
Now, as far as sign-in goes, too, I just wanted to note. And I'm not sure if this is UI that you made or that RateBear made, but one thing that would be really helpful is maybe filling in my username there, which you can get out of my Google account. Assuming that I don't know about this particular website, but a huge number of websites will use my email address as the sign-in, and so you can give your users a much nicer experience by just going ahead and filling that in if you know that it's likely.
Or in fact, providing a drop-down so that they can choose one of multiple accounts they have.
Autocomplete text view works really well for that, actually. I found. So I mean,
That's a good idea.
like when you have a drop down, like sometimes people just want to type, and because I'm just really used to typing Roman and Nurik and whatever. And sometimes you want, you do want to just pre-select something. And autocomplete text view is this nice, neat little thing in the middle. I forgot which app does it now, but there's definitely an app out there that I know that does it, and I just find it so pleasing to log into that app.
It's like it knows who I am. I can just start and get RE
He
and
actually
then boom.
deletes his account and creates it, deletes it multiple times just so he can log in
I'm
again.
so glad. I thought I was the only one.
Right.
So there is a single sign-in function, luckily. So after one signing in, it will just know it, and next time around you don't have to sign in again. Unfortunately, the website doesn't offer like something like an OAuth 2.0 or say a Google sign-in. But yeah.
One
Something to
bit
work
of
on them for.
one bit of really positive feedback, specifically around sign-in. I find that too many apps, you download them and they immediately require you to sign in or register, and that is a huge way to lose users. I basically say, if you ever get featured, right? People are just browsing around. They're not like going to sign up for you. They're just browsing around. They just want to get a little taste of your content.
Yeah.
So don't force them to do that. And I think that you do it really well here by giving them a lot of the content we don't have to sign in for. And I think that's really good, especially if you want to get featured. I think that's
absolutely. You want the sign-in to be something which gives you a value add by being part of that website, whether it's being part of the community or usually it's going to be a community-driven thing, which is why you want to get online. So yeah, I should point out, like you should do more stuff when you're not signed in. That's the flip side of like congratulations for letting us use the app without signing in. So it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I also just want to point out that I think this is a great use of the sort of the new ICS layout without looking like you just lifted the holo theme. I mean, it's completely your own theme. It's very much your own app.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels very ICS.
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely follow Roman's advice. If you can get the tabs into the action bar, that'll make a huge difference. Even on phone devices, it looks pretty cool actually with a two-layer action bar and having it up there. It'll save you some space and it'll look better. But yeah, the game, I love using the light theme. It looks really distinctly different. It really feels a little like the website, which is great. Kudos there. You probably should.
Bounce on to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay, who we got next?
All right, the next one is Oki Mini.
Okay.
So this will be a nice contrast to the previous one, which was also sort of a table game.
Oh, we should totally hook the phones up with Bluetooth.
Yeah, so multiplayer
Next
Bluetooth,
time.
that's really cool. Now
There's
is
Wi-Fi Direct for that.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, which will be even cooler. But
You
we're
want
not
to
cool.
initiate
so.
using NFC beam.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Stand back, people.
So I think this sort of suffers from some of the same problems that we saw in the last table game, which is that the fonts are very small. Even your ad is tiny. I mean, nobody can see that ad, which is a good thing.
It blends into the background.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Kudos for that.
So the tiles look really good, but all the players and their scores are really a little bit small and hard to read.
What's the little dot in each card? Is that supposed to be is this supposed to be there, or is that
Yeah.
bigger?
That's a
It
thing.
looks like it's intentional.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of Rummy.
It is.
I think it is a rummy game.
Yeah.
I don't know how to play
rummy
rummy.
tiles.
But
Hopefully it does more than remind you of it.
yeah.
We should
But
play
this looks nice.
for money.
This is cool. Is it kind of slow?
Yeah, it's a little bit of lag there.
There's a little.
You can see it on
it's not
the,
bad.
You can even see it on the screen.
Yeah. But it's nice. It looks like it's giving me a little bit of a hint, maybe that this belongs together, or that I'm going to be adding it to this group if I drag it there. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit confusing in that you've done a few things there, and there's still no indication of what you should be doing to get it right. So obviously it would help if we knew how to play the game, but what did that
there we
say?
are. There's a hint.
Well, it said that I don't have a winning hand, but I don't know why that is.
Maybe this needs like tool tips.
Yeah, some sort of simple tutorial when you get started.
Yeah.
We're not saying you should always have a tutorial. In general, you shouldn't use a tutorial
in general, you shouldn't use a tutorial. In general, your UI should just make sense.
Mm.
But in the case of a game, where potentially you don't really, the user just installed you for market and doesn't really know, how to play the game, maybe you should show either a tutorial or just tooltips. I personally find tooltips a little easier because, they show up and then they kind of go away. And maybe you can have a setting for give me back my tooltips. I really don't know what's going on.
Yeah, like for this game, I feel like it would be nice while you're dragging things around to get some sort of visual indication of, like if you drag it somewhere and it says, you need to have the same suit or something like that to get some sort of indication.
It's not really tooltips in the sense that you're not using like traditional mouse over functionality. It's because this app uses dragging and dropping though, it really gives you a huge amount of space in order to make a lot of context sensitive help, which would be great. And be great if you could turn it off too. I also think that the first time you play, it might be good to mention, by the way, hey, if you played before, here are the rules, because you do have the rules in the app hidden under the menu. And that's another thing is that when you put things in Android of 4 or 5 months ago, that's exactly the way to go. In Android of today, putting things under the menu key is now we're actually saying, actually, no one ever finds its stuff there.
You shouldn't have a menu. I mean,
these days, even if you're on a phone that has a menu key, it's better if you can surface it somehow and give an indicator. And that's a huge change. I mean, honestly, that was if you look at Android 1, the Android 1.0, we have a hard menu key. Put stuff under the menu key. That's where you hide stuff that's not used very often. We're trying to drive users there. I think after a few versions, we're like, actually, people aren't finding it. So put some on-screen indicator that that there is a tutorial and there is a menu, and allow it to be surfaced through both places if there is a menu key on the device. In this case, it's a tablet. Set your target SDK version to be high enough that it just goes away, and so the on-screen indicator is the only thing that's used.
Just a quick tip on the menu: you can use view configuration that has permanent menu key to determine whether or not the device has a menu key. But you really, you shouldn't use that. If a tutorial is important enough to be on screen, and sometimes it is, then maybe it should be kind of on screen help button.
But other than that, there's a lot of good things about this. It doesn't really lose anything when I switch back and forth. Although it does lose the way that I've arranged my tiles, which I could see that being potentially irritating when I hit the back button.
What do you guys think of like auto sort behavior? It'd be nice because I'm sure there's like some sort of deterministic way to say these should be grouped together, these tiles should be grouped together. Maybe as like a beginner feature like auto sort or like auto arrange my tiles. That may kind of make things.
I think that would be a really useful.
What does the market listing look like for this? Just out of curiosity.
Let's have a look.
Boy, you guys
I
always want the market listings.
Well, I think it's good. I think it's good to talk about. I actually would have brought up the one.
Remind me how to get the app switcher on this.
You just press home.
Well, I can press that. There's some way to do it on the Transformer Prime keyboard. Somebody was saying, but I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was. Can Control Escape doesn't do it? Alt Tab, Control Tab. One of the tab things does it.
I think Alt Tab actually does
Alt Tab
do some
does
task
bring it up.
switching, but it's a special ASUS task switcher.
This is Oki Mini.
Yeah.
No feature graphic.
Yeah.
No feature graphic, and the description's in Turkish. So, or the what's new is in Turkish. I'm guessing that's Turkish. I don't know.
So it's a good example, and so this is a reverse example of something we generally tell a lot of English-speaking developers, which is translate your market listings if you want it to be available or usable. Because if you're just going to browse through this, the first thing we see here is a bunch of Turkish, which makes it a lot less appealing for us. If you've got another app which comes up in the same search, it is perhaps not as good, but I understand what the hell it is.
Is what's new localizable? Because there are certain things that aren't, right? Like the feature graphic.
I'm not sure, but the description wasn't localized either.
Okay. The description, like the title, should
Yeah.
absolutely be localized.
Yeah.
What's new and if it's localizable?
But there's definitely, obviously this is getting some great reviews from people who speak what I believe to be Turkish.
Yeah, apologies if it
isn't
isn't
Turkish.
Turkish.
A Turkish word. That's cool. So anyway, a little bit of work to be done before I think our market would feature it, but it looks like it's really popular and there's a lot of good things to say about it. It's just not maybe the most 100% polished app we've seen.
Cool. All right, I think we have time for one more if we do it quickly. Do we have an app queued up by any chance?
No, we did 2 apps in a row, so we may want to do one more game.
True. All right. We did a lot of games last week. Well, let's have a look. What are our 2 options?
What are our 2 options? I think we've got, we got Pet Cafe and Tiny Little Racing. I guess Pet Cafe is next.
The app here that I wanted to talk about is very ICS friendly. It's Fragments from Google News. Yeah.
All right. Well,
you guys.
can't argue with that.
Should we?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Let's
Our
take a
guest
really
game
quick.
reviewer seems to have not made it in either. So.
We'll queue it up, and next week we'll go a
Yeah.
little more games heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, before we move on, I just want to mention a couple things about the queue. So we're taking the queue pretty seriously this week, as you probably noticed. We're moving pretty much straight down it. The only changes we made were we moved some apps up so that we could do more of a mix of apps and games, because several people had asked that we do that. So we'd love to see a little bit more of a mix. But the one thing that we did see was several apps from last week got nominated again, a couple apps that we actually went over, which is awesome if they've been updated, particularly if they've been updated to take into account some of our feedback. We would love to look at them again. But if they haven't been changed and you're just putting them back in the list because you like it and you don't think that we give them a fair shake or something, please don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we do want these to be self-nominated apps, so it's your own apps that you're putting forward. If you do want us to take another look because you've implemented some changes, let us know that in the moderator queue, and say, rather than describing the app, say, you looked at it a couple of weeks ago, I've implemented a bunch of changes, and we'll be more than happy to check it out. While we're talking meta stuff, we're going to try and keep it on the same moderator page and move the reviews which we've already done out of that queue, so you won't have to keep re-adding things week after week. We'll share the link after we've finished the hangout.
Okay. So I think that's this is the one where we're going to see fragments from Google News, or was it on Google? Okay.
There.
There you go.
And let's just wait for it to switch on over. Okay.
All right.
Let's switch on over.
Boom.
So the first thing I want to mention is this is not two tutorials. That's kind of weird. The first thing I want to mention is anytime you use names like Google or any other trademark.
Anything which sounds like it's a trademark?
Yeah, just be careful about that. So that's just one concern from a business standpoint. But from speaking purely technically, this app is using a lot of the ICS features. I mean, it's using a view pager. It's using probably action bar tabs. We can't switch over to landscape. But it's quite a cool news app. I mean, you can jump into specifics. Jump into the details. And I think touching on this gets you to a photo. There's some way to get to the full article. I think it's maybe just click on there. But I did have some feedback, and you guys, as you have feedback, feel free to jump in. But the thumbnails here are really small. That was my first piece of feedback.
Yeah, they are really small.
On such a beautiful screen as the Galaxy Nexus, there's a lot of white space here, which I'm a huge fan of white space, and a lot of Google properties have been kind of adding white space here and there, and it's generally a good design tactic. But when you're sacrificing image size and like really showing off beautiful content, that may be more of a negative trade-off.
I wonder if it was really. What does it look like on an HDPI screen rather than an XDPI screen? If we take a look at
That's a good question. Yeah. So maybe if it's in pixels, then that may be a problem. Like if you're showing the image sizes in pixels.
Would also be coming off the too.
Right.
Depends how big the thumb is. It might actually make sense on an XDPI screen, like the Galaxy Nexus has, to actually expand out the images a little bit. Because being a little pixelated on XDPI is actually better than having a really tiny image on XDPI.
And I mean, in this case, one thing that I found that works really well with thumbnails, especially when you have thumbnails of different sizes, like of different aspect ratios, consider using something like crop center scale type, where basically it fits the image into a square or into whatever, and just chops off the sides, so that all of your images look like they're the same aspect ratio.
That's nice.
But you do lose some of the qualities of the image, like somebody's head may get chopped off or whatever. But if you find that your content actually does work well with that, then it may be a better scale type.
Particularly because we're talking about a thumbnail here, so it's supposed to be indicative of what you're going to see if you hit the button. And judging by the way it looks on tablet, when you hit the button, you get a really nice big hero graphic.
If someone's his head is partially missing, that could improve the photograph.
Another thing I wanted to mention is that when you do a search, you go back and like I said, I mean the UI here is great. I think using the dark action bar theme and the tab stuff, it looks really good. But if you do a search like foo, right, and think the first result was Foo Fighters. You can't really close that search. You're kind of stuck with Foo on your screen until you go into preferences and close that Foo. So you may want to have something like that lets you kind of really quickly close out your result. And the last point of feedback I wanted to mention was that there's a pull to refresh here, and while that's a pretty cool pattern, it's not really official, which is fine. But the implementation here is kind of janky. There are cases where it was kind of slow and it just didn't work that well. So I would just revisit the pull to refresh, and potentially if it's not working really well, don't force it. Consider just showing a refresh action.
Is there a refresh in the menu or not? Is that the only way to refresh?
There's a refresh all in the menu, but not a refresh just this. Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. I mean, on this particular device, you can see there's plenty of space to actually put a refresh action in.
Yeah, definitely.
And that might make sense. It looks like this might have been designed more around tablets, and you did have the tablet view of the app out there. It is very cool the way it's actually scaled between both devices.
Yeah, this is the tablet view. And it definitely looks a little bit more like it was designed this way around on purpose.
One issue with the tablet view is that what you just saw, there's really long line lengths. Like if you look at the text underneath, the body text under the that beautiful, what is that? What car is that?
That is a Tesla Model X. Can you believe that?
Tesla. Yeah, that's gorgeous. But the text below it, I mean, you're seeing what looks like maybe 15 words per line, and that may be a little too much. You may want to bump up the font sizes, bump up the line height. Line height is a really great visual design tool to
So one of the questions that I
spacing.
had for you, Roman, is this obviously is not using action bar tabs.
Okay,
But they have the view pager model. How if they wanted to use action bar tabs and they wanted to use a view pager, is there a good way to use both of those together?
So action bar tabs and view pager?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that shouldn't be a problem, right? I mean the tabs API gives you a fragment transaction, but it doesn't mean that you have to do something with it.
Right.
Right. I mean you can absolutely say on select, like on tab selected in your tab listener, just call view pager whatever.
Right. You're just not going to get scrolling tabs then. You're just going to get going to have to select the tab as you page in and out.
And the thing is, I mean, if you're showing like 30 tabs, and there's probably a problem if you're showing 30 tabs, but if you're showing like 10 or 20 tabs, then action bar tabs may actually not be the right thing to do.
Right.
Action bar tabs are really designed for a fixed set of tabs, like top level app sections, like 3 or 4 sections. But yeah, I mean, you could definitely use them together. You just got to be careful as to what your tabs do.
Okay, cool.
Nice. And this is actually a nice little thing that I noticed as well when you so when you click through to the actual article, if you click on the image, that full screens as well, which is nice.
Can you pinch and zoom?
No. Clicking drops you back out.
Yeah, that's one thing that folks haven't suggested very often is why isn't there a built-in like pinch to zoom thing in the framework? And I've been clamoring for that myself, but hopefully in the future we do something like that. Actually, I want to know I think we should post this on Google Plus, but I want to know what good pinch to zoom libraries are out there for Android, because I haven't really seen any really great ones.
Cool. Let us know if you are watching. Do post in the comments. Let us know what good libraries are out there.
Yeah, one of the tricky things is it's not just there's two things that really should happen with a good pinch to zoom library. You should translate and you should scale.
Translate, scale at the same, and you should be able to like two-finger pan, and also like when you scale, you should scale around your center point, like where you kind of tether your fingers to those points in the image.
Yeah, that's
when you do like a two-finger drag, it should like create an artificial 3D image so that you can get the effects, right? You're gonna do it properly.
I mean, there are definitely like really good pinch to zooms, and there are some that basically like if you like pinch to zoom or pinch to or whatever to expand in the top right, it still pivots around the center of the image and not around the point in which you're pivoting. So there are definitely good libraries and bad libraries, but we'd love to hear about any good libraries.
The normal gesture detector does not actually help you very much.
Right. The scale gesture detector doesn't really help much there. You're right.
So.
All right, well, we are more than out of time, and right now a shadowy cabal of merchandising people is meeting to rate apps, and Dan and I like to sit in on that meeting so that we know what they're doing. So
we'd like to know why they're making their decisions so we can help you guys understand, what you should be doing with your apps.
Exactly. So we're going to get to that, and we are also going to be opening up the moderator for the next set of apps that we'll be looking at next week. We'll be looking forward to that. I think the top app had 40 votes this week, so tell your friends and get some more votes out there. I think we'd like to see
more and more votes so that we know that these are actually popular favorites and not just you asking all your friends to vote.
And part of making this less crappy each week is tuning it to what you guys want to hear. So do feel free to give us some feedback as to how we can provide more useful feedback or more interesting information for you guys as well.
That's right. And we're gonna work hard to make this suck less and make it more fun. So and
We'll certainly
if
include
you
more
want to be
beer
on the show. Let us know. Like if your app is one of the ones that gets selected, we'll try to contact you. But also, it's a good opportunity to get some direct feedback, and or if you think you're an expert in one of these user groups, definitely let us know.
Absolutely, and feel free to nominate other people as well. If you think someone else should be on here giving us their sage advice, prompt them and ask them to ask us, because we'd definitely like to have some feedback from non-Googlers as well. I think that's going to be really valuable.
Another thing they can do if they want to leave feedback is on the moderator. There are comments for each app, so if you feel strongly one way or the other about an app, don't just upvote or downvote it. Let them know what you think.
Yeah, exactly. Why is this on here?
Exactly.
This was on here last week
right.
and the week before.
Yeah, maybe don't take all of Dan's advice.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for joining us, everybody, and we will see you next week on the Friday Review.
Peace out.